your thoughts on some background advice which might be useful for any youngsters out there. So, as we are moving from the indoor to outdoor training, is there anything you would particularly focus on early season?
Obviously, moving from indoor to outdoor, the conditions are going to change quite a lot in terms of the surface from a batting perspective. So I think the things for me to focus on when I first get outside is to get used to the pace of the wicket. So try and play late in particularly. You work on all the skills through the winter, but the first thing is to get used to the pace, is to let the ball come to you, play late, and then from there you'll start to adjust to the wicket and get used to it outside. It's obviously tends to do a little bit more when we first get outside, just the nature of conditions and it seems around a little bit, so you're likely to face that. And by playing late, you're going to stand yourself in good stead to get through.
Are there certain scoring areas you tend to focus on early season?
I think it will depend on the individual's game. Certainly, it depends on the type of wicket. It depends on the individual's game, where your strengths and scoring areas are. I think the key is to try and make the bowlers bowl into your scoring areas and where you want them to bowl to. That's the key. So if you can learn to defend well when they're bowling really good areas, and somehow try and get them to change up what they're doing by playing some good shots, to get them off those areas, it stands you in good stead. And the important thing is what you worked on through the winter, and to understand where your strengths and scoring areas are, to then take it out and perform outside. Because there's no one or two scoring areas where you would necessarily focus on. It all depends on pitch conditions and, as a player, where your strengths are.
Very good, very good. If you can't get outside due to the weather, is there anything you tend to do to prepare and be in the right frame of mind for next time you train or play?
Well, we're lucky to have the facility here to sort of get in the indoors and be able to hit on the bowling machine, or have underarm throws, or whatever we want. For me, it's to get a little bit of volume in before we play a game, and the big thing is hitting the ball late, and lining the ball up on my off stump, especially in terms of the red ball crickets. Understanding and knowing where my off stump is pretty important. So I can do that on the bowling machine and in the indoor nets, and then also just a little bit of volume with underarm drills to get myself going. So there's nothing. It's about feeling confident when you go out to bat. So whatever makes you individually feel confident going into your match, that's what needs to happen in terms of your preparation.
A common issue with youngsters is how to score runs playing spin or slow bowling. What would your advice be?
I quite enjoy playing against spin. I tend to play pretty much all around the wicket in terms of the skills that I possess. So sweeping square, but also having the ability to come down and hit the ball down the ground against spinners as well. So what I'd encourage, and everyone has different strengths. Again, that's something to point out to youngsters is you're going to have to understand what your strengths are, play to them, but also work on your other areas of your game that need improving. Because if you can try and play and score in as many areas as possible, it really stands you in good stead to be able to put pressure on a bowler. So for me to be able to sweep square when I need to, but also hit the ball straight, I can pretty much score all the way around to spinners, and that really puts the spinners under pressure. I think one of the things is for younger kids, learning to play spin is sometimes it's a strength thing while you're growing up, to understand, might not be able to hit the ball over the top because you haven't necessarily got that strength ability yet, and that might be a time where you look at working on your square shots, so your sweeps, your cuts, your pulls, again spin, making sure you use the depth of the crease coming down the wicket if you need to. So those are the important things I'd say, especially to the younger guys. When you start getting a bit stronger, then you work on making sure that you can strike the ball down the ground as well. Put the spinner under pressure all round.
batter is struggling to keep the score ticking over and get off strike, what would you suggest is the best method?
Tell your mate on the other end to back up a little bit further. But watch out if you're playing the IPL, because you don't want to sneak too far. No, in all seriousness, yeah, there's obviously times where you can get a little bit frustrated and a bit stuck, and you wanting to sort of get off strike. Again, the important thing is to identify when you first come in where are my strengths, what areas can I score, where the gaps in the field for me to score, and just have that little bit of patience. That I think if you are a little bit too eager, you sometimes tend to go a little harder at balls, and it's just having that patience and trying to be as relaxed as possible to execute your skill. When you're a bit tense and you're too eager, sometimes that sort of resonates into the way you play, and you don't quite execute the skill as you want to. So it's identifying that areas that you can get your ones, and trying to be relaxed and confident enough to be able to back yourself to hit those areas.
Very good. Right, last question. If a batter is going through a tough time,
yep,
what would your advice be?
Batters generally go through tough times, and even when you're having a good season, you end up going through a tough time, because as batters you've got to accept failure quite a lot of the time. So it's having that mental strength to understand where you are, but also where you are in an innings, and it's having the patience and understanding that nowadays, like in terms of games, you can catch up your score later on in the game. So sometimes you can take your time at the start of an innings. I know if you watch the England team, one day team, the way they play at the moment, that's certainly not really the case, because they go out and they play their shots, and they've got an aggressive mindset to it. That's also a great way of playing. But if you are stuck and you're struggling at the crease and going through a bit of a tough patch, I think that the important thing is to realise that you have more time at the crease than you actually think. So although you might feel like you're under pressure and you've taken a few dot balls, the important thing is to keep your head, don't do anything too rash. We all tend to do that every now and again, but try and stay as calm as possible and looking to just execute your skills.
Lovely. Wayne, much appreciated. Thank you for your time and your bad advice. Good luck for the season.
Pleasure, guys. Good chat.
I've got all, mate.
Is that okay?